Hello everyone, welcome to Mark No Horsemanship. Here we are with Goldie, 2-year-old quarter horse filly that I've started here in my program. The 11th of this month will be a month for her, so we're approaching 30 days. And that's probably about all I'm going to do with her this go around. I'm going to ride her today, and today will be the third ride on her. And probably only going to ride her a couple more times before she leaves. I haven't introduced the bit to her yet. I'm going to ride her in pretty much a rope hackamore here in just a moment. It's going to turn this halter here into a hackamore basically, and that's all she needs to be doing right now at this point in time. So we'll just get busy working her here on the ground, and then I'll get in the saddle and see what we can get accomplished. So I'm just going to start off by warming her up, just like I do all my horses, and just make sure that she's listening, paying attention, make sure she's not limping somewhere, make sure she's soft, and I don't consider a horse properly warmed up until they go through their complete range of motion. In other words, a walk, trot, and canter. It don't necessarily have to be both directions. I'm talking about warming them up on the ground before I climb up on them. It don't necessarily have to be both directions, but I usually do get walk, trot, lope both directions before I climb on them. Why? Well, if the horse is going to buck at all, or if they have any junk in them, so to speak, it's going to be when you put that energy into the canter. So I want to go ahead and do my best to get all that out of them before I climb up there. So she's looking pretty content here. Y'all might notice something different about today, but my wife, she's videoed from another angle. It's kind of windy today, and if you stand over here at the gate, we might get a lot of wind interference. And plus it's cold. This is the 3rd of May, and it's 50 degrees and the wind's blowing pretty good. Probably could be colder and it could be worse, but we got pretty used to some warm weather, and now it's gotten cooler again. Right there, she got a little bit confused about what I'm wanting. So I'll just correct her or set her back straight. Now I'll ask her to go that way. This little filly's got a nice little turnaround to her. She's a little stiff going to the right. I'll show you here in just a moment what I'm talking about. But I just want to get her legged up here, loosened up before I get too detailed. Now, just to tell you some things I've been doing with her, in case you're wondering, because I don't ride her at all every day. Yesterday I didn't ride her. I didn't even ride her. I just saddled her and worked her on the ground. But like yesterday, I did some rope work with her. I got my lariat out, swung it over her head, put it around her neck, and looped it over her hip, and got her to give to the pressure on this side, on both sides. I'm just trying to get this filly nice and quiet. Now here we'll rock her back. Send her out this way. So right there, we got a little lope out of it. I'll consider that good enough that she didn't buck, but I'm going to ask her to really move out here. And my goal is not to wear her out to where she can't buck. She can still buck if she wanted to, but it's just to get them nice and settled. I like a horse nice and settled before I ride. Right there. You got to remember, she's been in the stall for 24 hours now. About this time yesterday when I worked her, so she's got lots of energy. Now, these horses that come into my training program, unless they're underweight, or if I see them starting to lose weight, I don't feed grain. I just feed a good ration of hay twice a day. And for years now, I've kept horses pretty healthy with just doing that. But you know, it's kind of like you got to use common sense. If you're taking out more than you're putting in, then you ought to start, you know, considering maybe, you know, feeding them some grain, or even a little bit more richer, potent hay. You know, the hay I have is good hay, but it's just mediocre grass hay. It's nothing fancy. So, but just use your common sense. Like I said, if you're taking out more than you're putting in, then you need to put more back in. But if it's working out pretty equal, like with the energy level and the way she's working and everything, or them, he or she, then there's no use in jacking them up on grain. It can cause some major behavioral issues. And I just try to steer clear from those things. So what I was going to show you, go over here and get my stick. Now I'm not going to use my stick for, of course, abuse. It's just to encourage her. So I want to show you, talking about her being stiff on that right side, I want to show you her good side first. And I just want to send her out, and I just want to stay close to her here. And you can see how how evenly she can trot around this way. And she keeps that head nice and bent to me, and that hip going away from me. Now the purpose of my stick is just to kind of form a form here, you know, a distance away from me. And I can use it as a little encourager right there, and I can just kind of tap her on the old rump with it. So just study her nice and close right here, of how she's keeping that shoulder up, she's keeping that rib cage bent. That hip is basically going away from me as the nose comes to me. And all that's textbook right there. That looks nice. Now when I yield her hindquarters right here and I go the other way, she kind of falls apart. She dives in. She kind of does it in an octagon like. She don't have a smooth, continuous circle like she just did going to the left. She kind of does corners. And the reason being is she's just off real bad going that way. You know, I'm not going to say that it's physical yet, but it could be physical. But we're not going to get into that right now. We're just going to get it the best we can and let her go home and be a horse. So I'll send her off this way. Now I'll use the same distance. You'll see her. She's gotten better. You can see a little raw spot over there on that side from about a week ago of me trying to get this out of her right here. So what I've been doing is working. She's not as coordinated this way. And as I bump her nose right here, you can see that hip come to me. In other words, it's just not as clean. It's just not as pretty. But you know what? I'm pretty impressed myself with today because she's doing even better today than she did yesterday. So what I'm doing is working. And what I'm doing is working on it. I'm just asking her to bend, keep that hip going away from me, and keep that nose to me. And it's really going to help later on in her career, and it's really going to help her all the way around. So that's what I do with those type of situations. Now, just to show you where we're at on her lateral flexion and all that. But before I do that, I just want to show you what some people never show you, is how to get a horse light as far as backing up on the ground. I worked on it just a little bit yesterday because she was a little bit stuck. She wasn't obeying the pressure on her nose. So I'm just going to hold pressure right here and ask her to step back and hold and hold and hold until she steps off of that. Now you can hear her. I don't know if you could or not, but I could hear her mouth open. Well, what's that got to do with eggs in China? Well, the reason I point that out is because when her mouth opens, right before she stepped back, it's a form of resistance. You know, she had that mouth clamped shut, and then when she opened it up, you can watch these horses when they're really resistant, they'll kind of crank their mouth open and their tongue will almost hang loose and dangle. There's going to be some people out there that seen what I'm talking about and understand it. and a lot of people won't. But that's what I've been trying to get out of her. You remember when she first came, she had a lot of resistance in it. So any type of anything that gets them over being resistant will help. So right here, I'm just going to hang in here, and I'm going to work on this just a minute. I'm going to get it a little bit lighter. I'm going to wait on her to softly back up with her head in a good position. Right there's pretty good. I don't want her to quit me. I always want to quit her. What do you mean by that, Mark? Well, when I'm backing them up and they quit me before I quit them, it ain't a fact of winning, it's a fact of them they're not being obedient, you know, and I want to be the one to quit first. And you can see these drag marks that she made. That just tells me that she's not learned how to really, you know, pick her feet up and back up. That could take a while. I've seen horses drag their feet like that for a long while, and then finally they'll start backing up pretty clean and pretty. But that's a form of just resistance. They don't really know how to rock back and use that hindquarter correctly. But you got to remember, a year and a half ago, she was still on her mama. Point being is she's young. There ain't no use in worrying about it. Address it, yes, and start to get it better. But there ain't no use in worrying about it. Just work on it and go on. If we get too picky and we worry about this stuff way too much. And you can see her picking up her right foot just a little bit better than her left foot. Whether that means anything, I'm not saying it does. I'm just pointing it out. She picks up her right foot over there a little bit better, but not much better. But she has gotten lighter. So just like with everything that I do, once they give me a good answer, then I'll quit them. You know, I'll go to something else. Now I'm just having to put my hand on that halter rope, on that halter knot right there, and she's backing off of it. So now lateral flexion. We'll go to it next. This is just a pre-flight checklist that I go through before I ride these young horses. If you do all this, most of the time things don't go south on you. If it goes south on you and you've done all this, then hey, that's sometimes cold starting, unfortunately. So we've got our light right there, but most of the time these things won't happen. If you go through your checklist, you stay calm and relaxed, learn how to look for things before they happen, and always keep this hindquarter and this lateral flexion working for you. It works pretty good. Now I know she's small. There's going to be a lot of people that's going to be sending mad faces about me riding her. But if you'll listen to what I said at the beginning, this is her third ride. She's been here basically 3 weeks, and it's only her third ride. And I'm probably not going to ride her but a couple more times within the 8 days that she has left here. So if that's too much for you to handle, then I'm sorry, but it's the way I choose to do it, and it works out great. There ain't no sense in waiting until these things get big, bullyish, and kind of dead set in their mind to where you can't manipulate their minds the way that you would that you need to. And yes, I did use the word manipulate. Manipulate ain't always it's not always a bad word. So especially in horses. So I got the saddle tight enough now. I'm going to move her out just a little bit since I did tighten that saddle. You never know. You just want to make sure. She rode out pretty nice the other day. I had my wife help me. We may have to switch places with Bailey here in a minute. Bailey may have to video, and my wife may need to help me. If that be the case, then that's what we'll do. But for now, I mean, you can't keep doing that forever. But if I'm just going to keep making her mad by punching around on her and trying to get her to move her feet, then we don't want to do that. I don't want to make them mad. So I'm going to drop that halter rope down there on her nose a little lower. I learned that from my buddy. He's my buddy, but he don't know me, and I don't really know him. But Learned that from my buddy Pat Puckett. If you ain't seen any of Pat's videos, I encourage you to watch him. He's a pretty clever man about things. And he's taught me, he don't know he has, but he's taught me how to drop that when you're using these things as a hackamore, a rope hackamore. He's taught me how to drop that nose band down there where it's got some effect on it. And it really works. You can really start to get these things soft and light without, having to always go to a bit right off the bat. And this is exactly where she needs to be right now at her age and at her experience level. So I'm going to see what she's made of today, being extra precautious about making sure that rope is on there good, because you definitely don't want to get up here and lose your horse. So I'm just going to come in here and get on this filly, see what she's like today. She's never been real bad, but I always like to check them out as if they've never been ridden before. The thing about these mares is sometimes they could be going through a heat cycle and you not know it and be a little bit different. So I'm just going to stop and rub her right here. And I know y'all are right beside me now, so I don't have to talk as loud. But I'm just going to rub her, make sure she sees me from every direction. I like to reach up here and rub them here, rub them there, rub them everywhere. And then after you get them rubbed a little bit, just ask them to ride off. She's going to be a little reluctant to move around just because she's green. She's only she's only 2. She's only been ridden 3 times. And like I say, if I have to get my wife to help me, I will. But I think we're going to be all right here. I'm just going to keep doing things. And like right there, she kind of did. She responded to that. And we'll just keep staying active right here until what? Until we get her dropping out, just like that right there. Now I want you to notice something with her. As she trotted off, she kind of come up in that front end, kind of jacked up in that front end. That's resistance. That's what we've been working on this mare since she's been here. And it's slowly leaving. And it'll slowly, bless you, it'll slowly go away as you work with her. Right here, I really need to get these feet moving. This is her not so good way. We'll just get her feet moving here. I ain't gonna do much with her. Just gonna ride her around nice and loose. You can see her ears. They're in that what I call concerned mode. But she's not frightened. She's just concerned. Now we're getting her. The reason I'm slapping my legs is to get a little forward out of it right there. That's good. Now we got her moving. Now we'll just send her this way, kick her through that right there. Got to kick her through that. Getting forward motion. Now we're going to kick her through this middle, through this transition here, right there. That's good. Get a little canter here if you can. There we go. Pretty good. change directions here. We'll kick her through it. Right there. Yeah, we got her. So now that we got a little forwardness out of her, bring her around here, let her think about it. So like I say, third ride on a 2-year-old, really not hurting her at all. You might say, well, Mark, she's not moving out very good. Well, hey, cut her some slack. It's her third ride. Don't y'all pay attention to my little tail hanging down there. My McCarty rope there is a little bit too long, but that's okay. It's getting the job done. I'm coming out of winter and I'm about as out of shape as these horses are. But that's all right. So, like I said, I like to move around a lot on these fillies. These young horses going to reach down here and get a little, grab her nose here, just getting her to bend and be nice and to accept that pressure. Bump, bump, bump. Remember, with a hackamore type setup or a true hackamore, it's more bumps than it is pulls. They just seem to have a better effect on them than just pulling on them. But with a snaffle bit, I would agree that I've heard it say that they're more of a constant pull. But with these hackamores, it don't hurt to bump, bump, bump until you get your desired softness. Like right here, she's kind of stuck, and that's okay. You just don't know. But now I'll ask her to move his hind quarter around. Nothing fancy, right there. Nothing fancy, but sure enough, to the point. You notice how I'm sliding my foot back, and I'm putting all the intention, so to speak, on the hind quarter. I'll slide my foot back here, keep that head to me. Kick that hip around, just like right there. Same way this way. Bump, bump that nose, get that nose around. Kick until you get a response. Right there. Now, that's pretty good stuff. For no more than I'm trying to accomplish with her with this go around of being here for 30 days, that right there was well and good enough. I'm gonna go ahead and step off over here. Step off over on the, oh my goodness, I got off on the wrong side. Hey, just to add to this video, a little bit of education, a little bit of a history lesson here. Let me explain to you all why the old way of, or the ways that we heard growing up of, oh my, you're only supposed to get on and off on the left side. There is no law or no written rule saying that we have to do that. Where the miscommunication come in was from the mounted cavalry years ago. The majority of soldiers were right-handed, which meant when they wore their sword, they wore it on their left leg so they could grab the sword with their right hand and whoosh it out ready for battle. Okay? Now, if you got a sword on this leg and you're trying to get on this quote-unquote wrong side, and it's not the wrong side, but if you're trying to get on the right side and you use this leg right here, then there's that sword right there, and you can't, and them swords are pretty long. They're at least 3 foot long or so. It would be hard for you to swing that leg over the horse with that sword on. So for the mounted cavalry, they would get on this side, put this foot in the stirrup like we're all used to, and right there, their sword would hang down here. So, and then they could throw this leg over, and their sword would just kind of pivot with them and be there hanging down even when they sit down. So that's a little history of why we get on the left side supposedly, and the other side is wrong. There is no right or wrong side to get on and off. There is no right or wrong side to saddle your horse. So just study a little bit, get out of the box, so to speak, every now and then, and learn these things, because I've seen horses that you do anything on this right side as far as getting off and on, they'll booger out from under you. They're just not used to it. I say get them used to it. So hope you enjoyed that little history lesson. I hope you enjoyed this video of riding a 2-year-old for the 3rd time. And she's going to be all right. We're going to send her home here in about another week and pick up another one that comes from that same place. Daisy, I think, is the one next. Y'all can scroll back and see videos of her. She was a little bay mare. She's 3 now. We're going to bring her back and really get started with her, and then I think she's going to go to a barrel trainer. I'm not real 100% on that, but that was the talk. And but that's what we're doing here. We're just getting these things started, and that's what I do. I start colts and I work with problems. So hope you enjoyed that. God bless you and have a good day.